Hey, what's up, hello, you beautiful people. It has been a hot minute since I've done a vlog that I've been excited about. In today's vlog, we are going to use a wheel of shame because, much like you, I have been watching Dylan's content and loving him see Spinderella every day. And so I decided I was going to let a wheel decide which of these books I'm going to read this week. These are all books that I am just so ashamed are still on my TBR that I have not read, so we are going to try to knock some of them out this week. We have Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, Sign Here by Claudia Lux, Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest, You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This one I am the most embarrassed about. And then Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adeji Brenya. Alright, Wheel of Shame, it's time. It's time for me to read the books that have been on my TBR for entirely too long. Let's get it. And the first book is... Sign Here by Claudia Lux. Okay, this one is about a person named Peyote Trip whose job it is to get you through the deals department of hell. I'm into it. I'm so into it. I'll keep you posted on how the reading goes. Hello, vloggy vlog. Let's talk about Sign Here, the first book in our little Spin the Wheel series. So, I don't know if I gave you the full synopsis about this, but we're following our kind of main character. I'll explain in a second. Peyote Trip, who works in hell in the deals department on the 5th floor. It is the second to highest floor available to you in hell. He's in a real cushy situation. And through his time, he's discovered that maybe there's a way out. So he has a plan. All he needs is one last member of the Harrison family to sell their soul. When the Harrisons retreat to the family lake house for the summer with their daughter Mickey's precocious new friend Ruth in tow, the opportunity Pei has waited a millennium for might finally be in his grasp. And with the help of his charismatic co-worker Calamity, he sets a plan in motion. But things aren't always as they seem, on Earth or in hell. And as old secrets and new dangers scrape away at the Harrisons' shiny surface, revealing the darkness beneath, and everyone must face the consequences of their choices. I'm 54% into this, and I say he's kind of the main character because we're following two timelines. So we're in hell with Peyote and Calamity, and they're going through some trials and tribulations of their own. But then we're also following the Harrison family, and we're following each member of the Harrison family so far. And right now, that feels kind of family saga-ish a little bit because there's history at this family lake. A girl died there, and one of the members of the Harrison family went to jail for it, and it was a whole thing, and those wounds never healed. And then there's the daughter's friend, and I don't really like the way the dad is looking at her, and I don't want to accuse him of, CSA, but the vibes are off, and I think it's because she reminds him of the girl who died there. And now I say girl, she was 17, so she was almost an adult, but his daughter is like 13, maybe 12. Like, the girls are young, okay? And it just gives me a little bit of ick, but I think it's because of the way this is written. It is not explicitly written to like lead you a specific way. Like, certain things are happening and you're just kind of supposed to intone from it. And so maybe just because I'm like, well, men, of course that's where it's going, it makes me think that, but maybe it's not, because he does come off as like this good guy. I don't know. I just never trust men. In fiction like this, trust them? Not me. But I'm having a good time for the most part. There have been some other content warnings, like self-harm has been a thing. I'm questioning if maybe one of these girls has an eating disorder. That hasn't been like expressive, like really aggressively mentioned on page. There was just like a scene at dinner, and I was like, put a pin in that. Let's see. The husband and wife of the Harrison family aren't in the best situation, but they're also not in a terrible situation. It's so hard to explain without spoiling things, but I can see where the chaos is going to happen. I can feel it coming, but nothing's happened yet, but I'm having a good time. It's weird, this story is moving so fast. I got through 54%, like basically at work. I started at, I think, 12%, been listening to the audio a lot, and I just kind of flew through it, and so much is happening, but nothing's happening at the same time. It's mostly you understanding the world and then getting to know the Harrison family and their backstory, so I imagine it's going to lead to a deal with, I say a deal with the devil, but Peyote's not actually the devil. He just works in the deals department of hell. Outsourced, if you will. So, I don't know. I think I'll probably finish this tomorrow, and I'll let you know my final thoughts concerns, whatever, and then we'll do another wheel spin because honestly, I'm very excited for that prospect. I finished Sign Here. I'm so confused by this. It says Darkly Comic on the front, and there were moments of that, sure, but this felt like a family saga. I mean, it was a family saga a bit. We were in this family of wealthy people who ancestors had signed deals with hell in the past. And so these people want for nothing. There was so much, like, is allegory the word I want? I don't know. It just, a lot was going on. None of it was what I expected. And so if I'm going based on what I expected, I would give this book like a 3-star. But I really enjoyed my time here, and I think I'm going to give it 4.5. This has really polarizing reviews on Goodreads and the Storygraph. I think it's sitting at like a 3.5, 3.6, which is, I think, kind of low for how well this was done, in my opinion. There are certain aspects of it that you can see from a mile away, or you start to guess some of the connections, but it's not about the reveal of the connection. Like, there are some moments that are made big about the reveal, but to me, it's what happens after the reveal that makes the moment. And that part, for some of it, I could not have guessed. So I really enjoyed this. Shout out to me for having this on my physical TBR for me to enjoy. Let's head back to the bookshelves to spin the wheel again. To the wheel. And the winner is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I'm excited about this one. I don't physically have this one. I have it on ebook. What I do know is that our FMC in this, we're in Regency times, and as a child, she is cursed by a fairy and half her soul is taken. And so she tries to get herself into the king's court as she becomes of age during the height of the season to get to his jester, I think, to see if she can be made whole again via her soul, and then a romance ensues. I hear it's fun and whimsical and heartwarming, so I'm really excited to get into this one. I'm doing such a terrible job updating this vlog, but I read and loved Half a Soul. I read it so fast. It was so good. It's like Regency romance, cozy fantasy, kinda. It was so fun. So we're following our main character, Dora, whose mother sold her soul to a fairy when she was pregnant with her, and the fairy comes to collect her soul when Dora is traipsing through the woods as a child, avoiding her lessons. Her mom has passed away at this point, I think, and so she's living with her aunt and uncle and her cousin, and a fairy tries to take her, and her cousin helps her get away and damages the fairy in the process, and he only gets away with half of Dora's soul. And so now she's cursed with not feeling things nearly as much as the average person does. She will say things and people are like, what are you saying? I feel like it's a really great maybe the wrong word. I feel like it's meant to be is allegory the right word I'm looking for, but like an allegory for like autism kind of, because I think sometimes there's a misconception that just because people who present a certain way on the spectrum don't react in the same way as neurotypical people, that it means that they don't like feel things or you know, get excited in the same way or whatever. And so I think watching Dora move through the world in the way that we did, and kind of the before and the after, was an interesting commentary on that. I don't know if that was the author's intention, but that was the first thing that I thought of as I was reading this. I was like, oh, this is kind of what I'm getting here. And I loved it. I absolutely loved the Lord Sorcerer, whose name I can't remember. Elias is his name. He was the MMC. Phenomenal. It took some of my favorite parts of the Veronica and Stoker series and the Veronica Speedwell series and a little bit of Pride and Prejudice. I don't want to use those comps as like it's going to feel exactly like this. There were just moments where it was kind of like a nod to some well-loved books in the genre, if you will. It was fun. It was short, most importantly, that book. On my Kobo said it was 338 pages, but that included a like 5 or 6 chapter novella about Elias's time in the war, which we don't really get in the book. So I want to say it was more like 250, 275. Perfect length. It was so good. I had so much fun. I don't know if I'm going to continue in the series, not because I don't want to, but because I have a feeling nothing's gonna hit as magically as the first book. So I don't know. Maybe I'll read it. I'll look at the synopsis and see what it's about. But it's now time to spin the wheel again. So I need to figure out what we're reading next. Our winner is The wheel has spoken. You Between the Lines is our next pick. This is following Lee and Will. They met in high school. I don't know if they went to the same high school or if they were just in the same writing program, but Will critiques Lee's writing. I think it's her poetry, and says it's all style, no substance. And she takes great offense to that. They have this kind of building animosity between them during this program, and then they graduate high school, they go to separate colleges, but now they're in the same MFA program together. And I think shit's gonna pop off real fast. Real fast. It's giving she's hated him and he's pined after her this whole time. That's the energy I get from these two. So I'm excited. I read a few chapters of this back in... Girl, are you good? I read a few chapters of this back in like January or February when it first came out. And I was just going through such a bad like reading time when it comes to like slower contemporary romance. And this may not even be slow. It just may have felt slow to me at the time. But so many of my mutuals have loved this. So I'm hopeful that I will also love this. I have heard it compared to Beach Read and that there's likely a why do you think January moment in here. And as someone who didn't like Beach Read but liked Gus, I have a feeling I'm going to love Will, and I'm hoping I will love Lee more than I loved January, so wish me luck. Welcome to me in the same physical spot 19 days later. I haven't picked up a single book for this vlog. I have not continued with You Between the Lines. It did just hit my Libby for the audio version, so I think we're going to try that because the last few weeks have been rough. I have had a long thought process about how I feel interacting with the book community. There is always drama in the book community. This is not new. But just watching the way people are reacting to some things and some behaviors I've been seeing has made me want to quit short form altogether. If only for like me actually logging in to interact with other people's things, because there are people that I follow and that I like whose content is great and I enjoy interacting with it, but I have to muddle through all the other bullshit to get to it. Even when it's like in my following tab, like there are still some things that like bleed over, and it like puts undue stress just into like my subconscious, even though like each time I'm looking at these situations, I go, that's stupid, whatever, and I just kind of move on. But it's just knowing I'm going to open it and then have to, like, sift through bullshit after spending my entire workday dealing with bullshit. I don't want to do that. It's not fun for me. So I'm thinking I am going to be a YouTube-only girly for a while because I still want to yap about books and I want to have a good time. And the one nice thing about YouTube is you guys don't speak back to me in the way that it happens on Instagram and TikTok. So I think I'm going to just hang here for a little while and limit my social media time and see how that helps me going forward. So I'm going to start listening. Hi, Frankie. I'm going to start listening to You Between the Lines and hope I make it a bit further because I was eyeball reading that. And not to say that I can't, but I think because work has just been so bad, I've been really struggling to physically read anything over the last few weeks. I started The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen, and I'm loving the setup of it. I'm only maybe 100 pages in. I mean, I had to force myself to read like 50 pages of it yesterday, just like laying on my bed, trying not to die of heat stroke because Texas is so hot right now. And I was struggling to even make it through those 50 pages without like wanting to put on a YouTube video or pick up my phone. And so I'm just trying to like detox myself in a way. So I figure if I have the audiobook running on my phone, I'm less likely to pick it up to get interrupted by short form video because that obviously pauses the audiobook. And I also am in a bit of a knitting frenzy. I'm gonna put you down so you can see. Girl, I'm about to get up. Excuse me. Okay, so she's looking at me like, what are you doing? Hi. Okay, let me move my coffee out of the way. So I've started knitting this hat. It's similar to the pink one I showed you guys a few months ago. It's the exact same pattern. Ooh, I almost lost a stitch. But just different color, and I'm obsessed with the way this green looks. I am planning to get my hair braided next month, and probably keep that style for quite a while. And I just know when eventually fall shows up, I know it's the end of June, I know, but as someone who lives in Texas and who's had summer heat start in the middle of May, I am yearning. I'm yearning for fall. So when we eventually get there, I think that's going to be my go-to beanie. And then I just started the neck ribbing for a sweater. And so I think I'm going to work on these two things this afternoon, because little miss over here who's making all this noise, Frankie, is going to the groomer in like 15 or 20 minutes. And so she'll be gone for a few hours, which means I can do a few cleanup things she normally hates, like running the vacuum and mopping, and then I can just sit down and knit in peace without someone trying to play with the string of the yarn or throw their toy in my face. So that's what we have going for us today. It is Sunday. I kind of wish I started this yesterday. I'm also toying with the idea of, instead of continuing a wheel spin after this book, maybe switching and just doing a wheel spin, but for pages numbers, the number of pages I need to read in a day instead. Just to get myself in the habit of reading again, because I read Half a Soul, loved it. I took a break from the wheel. I did not read You Between the Lines, and I picked up a random werewolf romance that Instagram ads gave me. And what else did I read? Oh, Abdeeb Khorram. I read I'll Have What He's Having. I liked it. It was fine. It wasn't great. And then after that, I just didn't want to read anything for a little while. And I've just gotten out of the habit of picking up books every day, which is very weird for me. For the last 8-9 years, that has been an almost daily habit for me. So I would like that to happen again, whether or not I'm filming, whether or not I'm making content, and just have it be a thing that I do in my spare time instead of scrolling on my phone. So I think we're going to transition this from a wheel chooses what I'm reading to a wheel dictates how much I'm reading, and see if that also helps me, because I have been trying to lean into mood reading to bring some joy back in my reading, which is why I started The Bridge Kingdom, because I've been seeing that series around a lot, and it's been a while since I read a fantasy, and I don't know, summer feels like it's the time for fantasy. So I am going to read You Between the Lines, though, because the wheel dictated that, and because I do actually want to read that book. I've just struggled to be excited about it, I guess, and so we're going to have the audio, give the audio a real shot, see how I feel about that, and then go from there. I'm at the 50% mark and I'm having such a good time. I love these two so much. They're MFA students and it shows in the best way. They're very fun. So I'm trying to, I'm getting blown out by the sun here. They're so awkward with each other for people who've known each other since high school. And I know that they weren't super close, but there's just this feeling of familiarity with these two that feels really natural, and I'm interested to see how the back 50% goes, because I feel like while it feels really natural, I also feel like they don't know each other at all, but they do, because they're getting to know each other kind of through their poetry in this MFA program that they're in. And I don't know if there's anything more personal than getting to know somebody through their writing, but I don't know. I believe in their relationship and I'm having a good time. There's this moment that gets talked about a lot when people review this book that has happened already. And it was actually a flashback scene. I didn't realize that. And it helped me see a little bit more of Will's character. And so I think I'm just looking for a little bit more from him, because we're getting everything that Lee is thinking and feeling, but we do not get Will's perspective. You know what? Actually, now that I say that, yeah, we don't get chapters from Will's perspective at all. And so I don't think that every book needs to be dual POV in romance in particular, but I think because Lee is such an anxious character and she talks about her anxiety and she talks about her dad's anxiety and she has other things going on in her home life and he kind of does too, but we don't know anything about it yet, but you can just kind of tell like there are some things going on for both of them. And so I just am looking for a little bit more. Right now things are feeling very surface level, but I'm enjoying the surface. It's a pretty surface. It's an enjoyable one. I think I'm hoping for a little bit more, but the audiobook narration is excellent. I don't know if I told you what this is about, but they're both at the same MFA program. They went to high school together. They were in this like summer writing program, I think, at their high school where they did like a workshop together. And he makes a comment about her being all style, no substance during that high school thing. She takes it very personally. They run into each other again in college. He is just graduated, is about to move out of his college dorm or apartment, and she has just shown up at his college to be a part of a summer writing program. That's where that comes in. And they kind of run into each other. She didn't know he was still there. She thought he would have been gone by then because of the timing of her program. She's like, he graduated, like he shouldn't be here. And they have another moment running into each other there. And so now we're finally with them regularly together for a 2-year MFA program. And I guess because of all of this stop and start that has historically happened for them, I don't want to say I was expecting them to just like immediately pop off, but I guess I was just expecting a little more bite, a little more familiarity. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm hopeful that the back 50% will be just as good. I was texting a friend of mine telling her I'm finally reading this. This is one of her favorite books of the year. So I am very hopeful. Hello, happy Tuesday. I have finally finished You Between the Lines and it was fine. I had a good time. It was cute. It was emotional. It definitely gripped me. But I very quickly kind of grew tired of Lee and her anxiety, which sounds shitty as a fellow anxiety sufferer. But I think it's because sometimes I could feel it so palpably that like it was triggering me. And other times I was like, girl, get over yourself. Because Lee has this problem of internalizing so many things, even though they're not real. And I think where I struggled was she would talk about being in therapy, but we wouldn't see her therapy sessions. And then when we finally did, it felt a little too late. And I think this book really suffered from not giving us the MMC's point of view. I think if we got to see things through Will's eyes a little more, it would have helped with the flow of the story. I'm not a person who thinks that we always need to have dual POV romances because some of my favorites are single POV, but I just feel like we needed some balance to Lee's chaos and we just didn't get it. And there was so much other stuff going on in her life that we were seeing from her, but we weren't getting to see from Will's point of view because he had things going on too. And I just wanted something a little more fleshed out, but this is a debut and I'm trying to keep that in mind. So I think for a debut, she did an excellent job. I love how much poetry was brought into her style of prose. I don't know if Katie Naiman is a poet. I would not be shocked to find out that she was, but if she wasn't, that honestly makes it an even greater feat because it didn't feel cheesy. I loved the way she would use poetry to describe their intimate scenes together instead of it just being just really overly descriptive smut, and it fit the tone of the book. So I think this is a really good time. I think if you're a person who, like me, has struggled with Beach Read by Emily Henry, you will probably struggle with this as well. I think much like that one, we were in January's Had Too Much and we didn't get enough Gus, I felt the same way about this, despite the fact that Will Langford is easily one of the best bookmen of the year for me so far. Crazy thing to say. So we are putting this away. And we're going to start 7 Days in June. I don't know if I'm going to start it tonight. It's been a little bit of a rough work day, and I kind of just want to sit and watch Scandal for a little while. I've got dinner on the stove. You might hear it sizzling in the background. But this is for sure the next book. It's been too long. It is freaking time. Hello. My shelves are a literal nightmare, and I would like to fix that. So I'm going to listen to 7 Days in June while I take everything off the shelves and then figure out how I'm going to reorganize them. Wish me luck. Good morning. It is time to reorganize the shelves. Dear friends, hopefully you can hear me okay. There's a little bit of festivities happening outside my window, but the shelves are finished. Things look good. We have literary and contemporary fiction across the top and about halfway through to here. A little bit of nonfiction right here. It's mostly stuff that I have kind of at the top of my TBR or that I feel are going to have almost like a fiction-esque feel to them. For example, I have Samurai William here, which is about a man who was a part of he was an Englishman. I think he was a part of the British Army or Navy. And then he is essentially captured in Japan and like forced to stay there and then helps them build boats and infrastructure and things. Sounds fictional, really happened. So things like that are over here. Or like I said, fiction, nonfiction that I wanted to get to. Like I want to reread Crying in H Mart soon. I really want to read I Am by Maggie O'Farrell. I have Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking, In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, Heavy by K.S.A. Lehman. I just got an ARC actually about this a few months ago from a Goodreads giveaway actually for Firstborn Girls by Bernice L. McFadden. All of those are nonfiction, but top of the list, so I stuck them up there. And then we move into some historicals that I didn't know what to do with, / classics in The Road and The Secret History, and then we move into historical / retellings with Song of Achilles, Circe, Clytemnestra, Piranesi. I put the 2 Veronica Speedwell books I have here, and then we just kind of start to get into romance, a little bit of sports romance, some more sports romance on the bottom on this side, leading into small town and western, because I have an author here who wrote both, and so it made it very easy to organized that way. And then we have Allie Hazelwood's, all her stuff there, Hannah Bonham Young, Tara DeWitt, Emily Henry, a lot of queer romance here, some more romance across the top here, and then the rest is all of my fantasy, thriller, horror on these 3 shelves here, and then on this shelf right here. And then just below this, which is hard to see because all these books that I'm getting rid of are in the way, but I've got a nonfiction shelf back here that is mostly like celebrity memoir and things where I have physical copies, but I'm probably never going to physically read them. It's probably going to be an audio experience. And then I have a couple of books that lean more towards like history. Like I have one from Heather Ann Thompson, Blood in the Water, that I really want to read. And for me, that's going to be a historical study situation. It's about the Attica prison uprising, and I really want to read it, but I know I'm going to need the audio because I'm going to want to listen to it and then like take copious notes while that's happening. So anyway, those are my shelves. Ooh, I'm really loving the lighting right now with this yellow. I feel cute. I love it. Anyway, that's what's going on right now. I'm not really reading anything at the moment. I'm at the beginning of chapter 6 of 7 Days in June, and I feel like right book, wrong time, maybe. I keep putting this book off. But something in my spirit tells me, like, I need to read it when it's really the right time for me. And I think it's the heaviness of things that are happening in there that are just kind of, like, just said in the moment. And not to say I can't deal with heavy things, but I think I need them in the vein of fantasy right now. So I might end the video here. Oh, no. Yeah, I think I'm going to, actually, because I don't really want to start anything new and vlog it really, but I want to have something to put up. That sounds so silly, but it's been basically a month since you've had a video for me, and y'all deserve. You do. You've been waiting so patiently. So I think I am going to end this with this little remodel. I will see you guys in another video soon. Doing what? Who knows? But hopefully a more consistent summer from me, because I have missed putting videos out every week. I'm not quite feeling inspired yet, but maybe that'll come soon. So thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't. That really helps a lot. Share with a friend. And I will see you all in another video very soon.